Welcome to the Wednesday episode of The Associated Guest. I am your host, Alfie Animus, here at the Bear in Mind channel. Today, we're going to jump into the Iran situation. We're going to talk about, and look, this is what, I don't care what your position on things is. My only thing is that you're actually paying attention and you're not just saying what the media on whatever side of the spectrum you're on, and yes, I do mean spectrum, as in autism. But no, if you are distinctly party line, if you only ever say whatever CNN or Fox News is saying to you, you're not a serious person. It drives me crazy when the left does it, and it drives me crazy when the right does it. There's a lot of people, and not even people on the right, just people who voted for Trump, saying that he's lying. Now, yes, he did say that he has bragged about not starting any wars. But let's be honest. No war has been declared. And I'm not talking in the same situation that the Afghanistan war was never officially declared. That was corruption, pure and simple. That was warmongering, and that was sheer technicalities. The president has the right to bomb, whether it be preemptively or otherwise, within a certain time frame, for a certain time frame. The same way that Elon Musk's position with the government was temporary and was very much restricted to a certain time frame. Basically, the powers of the president has a similar limited view. It's a little muddied and gray just because of some of the things that have been implemented with increasing the executive authority, which everyone knows I'm very much against, whether you use it for something I like or not. I don't like the precedent it sets by granting the executive branch more power than they actually have. However, at the same time, if you are all for giving the executive branch more power when your people are in party and get pissed off at the other party for using the power that you were totally cool with when your guy was in office, I don't care about any of your opinions after that, because you don't care. You don't care about fairness. You don't care about any of that stuff. All you care about is the side that you root for having power. This is just a big football game for you. It's the Super Bowl. And not the fun kind with the cool commercials that are funny, like the Budweiser and all that back in the day, but it's just sad. But anyway, I'm going to stop babbling, and we'll get into it, because this is a good one, and it's also a longer video, so we'll be here for a little bit.
Weren't paying attention. So let's go, by the way, through some of the claims and truths out there, because there is propaganda on all sides. It's time for
Yes. And that's another reason why I respect Crowder, is because, for the most part, he's the same. He's very much a staunch conservative. But again, he doesn't care about ripping either side. And frankly, if you're saying that Trump is, well, we'll get into it when we get there.
Here are some of the primary claims that are being made out there. Check the references, links in the description. By the way, we're live 11 a.m. weekdays, period, if you're watching the clip. First claim. Sorry, Toolman, I know I had a bunch of low thirds for you. Here's a claim that I see out there. Only the Jews, and I want to be clear, not just the Jews have an interest. Only the Jews have an interest in castrating or overthrowing the Iranian regime. Only the Jews. That's the claim.
This is one that drives me crazy, especially this woman right here. She was completely on Trump's side until he got to the part where he wasn't just getting people who had committed heinous crimes. He got people who were committing any crimes as far as immigration goes. And then she's going on things like The View. And again, I never had any great love for Marjorie Taylor Greene. I found it funny that she was well thought of for a little bit after her claim that the Jews had space lasers. But the fact that she owns, I can't remember what company She owns some big company that has a lot of illegal workers, and that she was completely on Trump's side until he started taking her illegal workers away from her. But what more do you expect? She's part of the system.
I don't think we should be fighting wars on behalf of Israel, and many Americans agree with that.
No one should have to die for a foreign country. I don't think those 4 service members died for the United States. I think they died for Iran or for Israel. And this feels...
Megyn Kelly, shut the fuck up. I was so happy when she got canned from what was it, Fox News that she was on? I don't care. Because I thought I'd never have to hear from her again. And then she got a YouTube channel, and she said a few things that I've agreed with. You know, the broken clock is right twice a day. But she's a retard. She's one of these people who have gotten on the Candace Owens bandwagon. You see her doing this. You see, and I hate dogging on the Hodge twins because I've watched them for years before they ever got into politics. They were just funny. They were funny. They reminded me of guys that I knew when I was in the Army. They were way over the top, meatheads, just talking to things in the extremes, whether it be, you know, sex or eating or gains or all that shit. But Megyn Kelly is one of the biggest. I don't know if she's stupid or just a hypocrite. It's hard to tell. She's, you know, I mean, look at her. There's nothing going on behind those eyes. Anyway, let's continue.
Very much, to me, like it is clearly Israel's war.
There are a bunch of people in the
Oh, Tucker Carlson. Let's listen to what he has to say.
period.
Okay. And then I want to get to you in this, but here's the truth, okay? Of course Israel has an interest in that. But many other parties have a vested interest here, including the United States, which is paramount.
And again, I don't care. And look, I might just be a little biased because I used to get beat up because people thought I was Jewish when I was younger. So maybe I just have a soft spot for the Jews. Or maybe I just get tired of people saying everything is the Jews' fault. And you see this on the left and the right. You see it more on the left, but you're seeing, thanks to people like Candace Owens, you're seeing a sharp rise of this on the right again as well. Also thanks to Fuentes. But surprisingly, Fuentes, he'll defend Israel sometimes, which, you know, if Nick Fuentes is defending Israel or saying that they aren't at fault for something, it's probably true. When someone who's always shitting on a particular group or a particular person takes that person's side, that means it's probably true. But let's continue.
But all of the Iranian people around the world, when you see these, diaspora, and pick a country, are they paid by the Jews? The G7 nations. It's a joint statement reaffirming that Iran can never have nukes. Other nations, and Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Iraq, and even Jordan.
You know, I'm not saying he wasn't a threat, but me being compared to him, I took offense to that.
And one of the primary benefactors, you could say here, is definitely the United States. Iran has had a problem with the United States going back, I mean, as long as we can remember, but certainly starting 79, where they declared war, and they've redeclared war against the United States, killed thousands of service members in many of our bases with no intention to stop. So yes, Israel does. The myth here, the claim that is false, is that only the Jews would have an interest. Now, you may not say that these interests warrant the action, but to say that there aren't other interests outside of Israel is disingenuous, in my opinion. And you also on Megyn Kelly.
Yeah, right. Well, even if it's not just Israel's interest, but even if it was saying that these American soldiers are dying for Israel, you don't get to say that. I mean, you do get to have an opinion,
of course,
sure, but you don't get to decide what these soldiers are dying for. Only the person who raises their right hand has the ability to decide what they're dying for.
Yes.
They die with that flag on their shoulder. They're going to have a flag in their casket. They didn't die for Israel. They died in service to their country.
And all of these people, whether they signed up in peacetime or any kind of wartime, and considering it's only been 3-4 years, since we got out of Afghanistan permanently, or quote unquote permanently, everyone who signs up for the military knows what they're getting into. And if they don't, then they're dipshits and whatever. But if you sign up for the military, it's like signing up for the police and then someone getting upset because you died in the line. Like, things happen. Yes, you can be upset about it, but you can't be upset to the point where you're like, "Oh, what about the soldiers?" Like, you can't get mad at the police commissioner for sending someone to investigate something and then people dying. Not just for that fact. Now, if they didn't have information or didn't do due diligence or whatever, sure. But you cannot be mad at the president, the Congress, the Senate, whatever, because soldiers who signed up to do a job, to do a duty, died in the line of that duty. Is it sad that they died? Of course it is. And I'm not going to be one of those any human life is precious or whatever kind of people. But death is sad. Death is not a good thing. But they're soldiers. It's all part of the plan, as it were. But I'm just saying, look, it's sad, yes, 100%. But soldiers signed up to do a duty, and they died in the line of that duty. And all this stuff saying, "Hey, what's going on, Shapeshifter? Welcome." All of these people saying that Trump lowered the flag for Charlie Kirk and he didn't lower the flag for the soldiers. That's not how this works. Now, if it was some mass casualty event, like someone bombed a base and hundreds or so on people died, yes, of course, that would be a tragedy. We're currently kind of sort of at war with Iran. It's not that much because we've already destroyed their navy. But basically what happened was we gave them the deadline. They didn't hold up to it. They continued making or advancing towards making more nuclear weapons and other such things. They killed, I think it was, the last count was like 12,000. Might be, it's probably a lot more than that by now. But the last time I checked on the count, they killed 12,000 of their people who were protesting the Ayatollah in the street. Gunned them down in the street. You know, all the stuff that people make it sound like Trump's doing. He actually did that. And these same protesters in America are protesting the fact that man is dead. But people are complaining also, sorry, back to my point. People are complaining that they lowered the flag for Charlie Kirk's death. Again, he was a widely known figure. He was a very strong force in the Republican movement, whether you like him or not. No. We're not in World War III. No matter what Megyn Kelly or Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens say, at least we're not there yet. And I don't think we will be. The same way that we weren't when everyone was saying World War III during the Venezuela situation. But anyway, I'm diverting. Let's continue.
Country. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
Don't use soldiers. Stop using soldiers for your agenda. Stop using soldiers to push your slant.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't like it when the left does it, and I don't like it when the right does it. Soldiers are there to do their job. They should be, respected for doing such. But at the same time, soldiers dying in the line of duty, especially something like, okay, so real quick, basically what happened was we bombed them strategically. We got, and we sent in a whole thing. We got the Ayatollah, and he was killed in some little crossfire. In response, they pretty much shot off hundreds of missiles in random directions. They've been bombing every country that surrounds them. One missile actually flew up in the air and landed back in Iran and blew up. I'm sure you've heard that they blew up a girls' school. That us or Israel blew up a girls' school. But everything that I've seen says that, and I've seen a video. You know how like when you see a bomb or a plane, you can see the smoke stream behind it. There's literally a smoke screen that goes up into the air, and you can see it horseshoe back and land on this school where sadly over 100 Iranian kids died. But it was in fact a misfire or a faulty missile that landed back on their own country. And again, that's horribly sad. But at the same time, quit hitting yourself. Anyway,
it's a terrible look, and it's.
Well, that's the thing too. A lot of people use the word never-ending wars. That's a new term. Okay, I understand the concept of it, and I'm against that. But if you could poll the military, guarantee you would see overwhelming support because they've known and had to deal with Iran for a bit.
If World War III starts, I would mostly say get out of the big cities, especially if you're on the coast. If you're in the middle of the country, you should be closer to fine, maybe. Especially until we get the quote-unquote Golden Dome completely set up. But for the most part, we've got decent missile defense.
Very long time.
Decent.
We'll see with recruiting numbers here in the next quarter.
Yep.
It'll be a great indication of how people feel.
Yeah. We'll
All
see.
that and Iran doesn't have anything that can reach us yet, as far as I know.
With the camping out at respawn kill, or if it did better with 2 mommies in transition surgery and stretchy maternity suits for female pilots. We'll see which one appeals to those who you want in the military. Next claim that I see made out there is that President Trump betrayed his base. Traitor.
I think the president has gotten very important.
Traitor. President Trump is a traitor and is doing this solely at the direction of the Jews, like Adelson. This is everywhere.
I think the
Oh, yeah,
president
you should be
very
fine.
poor counsel, and I do think it matters politically that he was the no more endless.
No, Australia is not part of this, and you're all the way over there. Aside from any, now we have had a few terrorist attacks in America. There was a stabbing on the highway in D.C., and then there was, I want to say there was a shooting in Austin, Texas. Things like that happen, but just, don't go... I don't know. I don't get out of the house a whole lot. I go to work. I go to a few comedy clubs, and then I go home. Haven't been to a comedy club in a little bit, but I am fixing to start going back. For both entertainment and hopefully eventually work. But yeah, just be careful out there, as always. But just the same as you always do. Go on about your normal life. Notice warning signs of things that may or may not be happening around you. And definitely, I would not go to any place like Bondi Beach or Bondi Beach, however you say it.
Wars candidate in 2016 and 2024.
Especially if there's a high Jewish concentration in the area. Because, again, nothing against the Jews personally, but they have a target on their back as of right now.
Particularly,
all over the
this
world.
Looks like an open betrayal of the base.
And even right now, Donald Trump barely has majority support of his own base. And think about it. Last I saw, it was something like.
And again, the base and the voting bloc, the people who voted for him and his base are different. And you'll always see people conflate the two to suit their own means. The same way that you'll notice that people are very strategic with their language when they talk about things, so that they're not technically lying. They are being disingenuous. Or disingenuine, is it? Whichever one. But yeah. But they're not technically lying.
55% of Trump voters said, like, okay, we'll support the president so far.
The most important definition, Chris, is that America First, which is what he ran on, which is the Trump brand, equals 0 wars. That's how voters understood it.
Well, then voters did not do any research. America First is America First. Again, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, America First does not mean no new wars. It's preferred. Sorry. I'm not 100% awake yet. I'm only halfway done with my first cup of coffee. It's preferred no wars, of course. Nobody wants... Well, the average American doesn't want war. But yeah, that's not the main line of America First. People conflated him chanting America First and all that stuff, and saying that he has started None at the time, but now still less wars and less bombings than previous presidents, whether it be Republican or Democrat.
Well, look, if we actually had an America First foreign policy, which means not in the hands of Miriam Adelson and the Zionist lobby, if we actually had that, Netanyahu couldn't do anything.
This guy looks like Elizabeth Warren and Stephen King had a weird baby.
Israel, with its 8 to 10 million people, cannot fight Iran with its 100 million people.
Okay, and here's the truth. I would be upset if I thought that was the only reason President Trump is targeting Iran as well. If I believed that he had done a 180, I go, well, yeah, okay, that is a betrayal. By the way, when he says no new wars, he's not a warmonger president. Peace through strength. Remember Venezuela? I will tell you this before I get to the truth. If this is what it looks like, not everything is comparable to Iraq. If it looks like Venezuela, if it looks like the Iranian enrichment facilities, if it looks like the first day or two that we saw with Ayatollah through rank 75 can be taken out in swift order, it's one of those areas where I'm going to trust the president's judgment, because I think there are a lot of people, a lot of bad actors around the world going, you can just do stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. And which is crazy is, yes, you can just do these things. Presidents, and yes, every president within my lifetime, and pretty much anyone who's listening to this, has done something like this in the past. And it's only gotten worse because of the expansion of the executive branch's presidential powers. I don't know how much that's affected this particular section of it, but people always complain about it. Again, like I said earlier. But this has happened. Obama bombed many countries with far less precision. Okay, killing someone, oh gosh. He killed somebody's son, some dictator's son, I want to say, or hell, that might have been Bush, but it was in the middle of a busy cafe in the middle of a busy section of the city that he was in.
For other world leaders to look at this and remember that it can be you at any time.
Right. But this idea that he betrayed his base, it's not President Trump's fault. The truth here, it's not President Trump's fault that you weren't paying attention.
And before he gets into this, he's going to go off on a tangent about how Trump has always talked about Iran, and he has. I believe there's a clip from the Oprah show, some talk show back in the 80s, where Trump was still talking about this all the way back then, before I was born. But if you notice patterns, and look, if I thought for a second that this was solely for Israel, I would be a lot more vocal about it, because I don't believe that we should do anything for the benefit of another country before ourselves. If it puts us in a bad situation to where a lot of Americans will die solely for the sake of another country. I don't care what country it is. It could be England. It could be France. I don't care. Now, if there's the fear of it expanding beyond said country, like the World War II situation where we finally stepped in, then sure. If there's another Hitler or Stalin on the rise, which kind of like, I mean, Putin's kind of like Stalin's retarded nephew. However, you have to think Venezuela, the first presidente that Trump took, and now Iran, the Ayatollah. What do both these countries have in common? They both send oil and other resources and support to two larger powers, China and Russia. For those of you that say that, and look, I'm not a big Trump glazer by any means. It's not my fault that the mass of people who just jump on and don't like him and think that and say that everything he does is evil without looking at it. He might have evil means, and it might just be a coincidence that all these things have these in common. However, you have to look at things and you have to assess them, especially if it makes you bleed internally throughout the day, at least as far as in your own mind. But yes, both of these countries send resources, sell resources, mostly oil and such, but to China and Russia. If Trump was really Putin's puppet, like a lot of people have said in the past, he would not have touched Iran and Venezuela. That's just a fact. Love him or hate him, you have to acknowledge this. Hey, thanks Kick Growth for the follow there.
Truth. Did we already hit the truth?
I'll hit it again.
Yeah. The truth is he's been clear on Iran since the Iranian Revolution. I've shown you clips from, I believe, 2015. I've shown you tweets from 2011. Here's one from 1980, where before President Trump knew that he would ever run for the presidency, he was expressing the idea of America first and how Iran needs to be turned into an example for the sake of America. You may not agree, but you can't say that he's changed his mind.
Yeah. And again, you can disagree with that all day long. You can disagree with his point, you can disagree with his decisions, but you cannot say that he has betrayed anyone, at least to this point. Because this is a very young Trump. This is 1980. Saying the same shit. Or similar shit.
Then the other countries tend to do a little bit as you do, and you can create the right attitudes. The Iranian situation is a case in point. That they hold our hostages is just absolutely and totally ridiculous. That this country sits back and allows a country such as Iran to hold our hostages, to my way of thinking, is a horror. And I don't think they'd do it with other countries. I honestly don't think they'd do it with other countries.
Obviously, you're advocating that we should have gone in there with troops, etc., and brought our boys out.
I absolutely feel that, yes. I don't think there's any question, and there's no question in my mind. I think right now would be an oil-rich nation, and I believe that we should have done it, and I'm very disappointed that we didn't do it, and I don't think anybody would have held us in abeyance. I don't think anybody would have been angry with us, and we had every right to do it at the time. I think we've lost the opportunity.
Now,
and you have to understand that Trump is a man of belief. And he believes in nothing more than that haircut, because he's had the same haircut for 45 years at least.
Opportunity.
Now, here's why that's important. That's him in 1980 saying, the United States needs to earn the respect of the world, and there's nothing that anyone could do. We need to act like the leaders that we are, and we have the right to get our people back and set the tone. That's 1980. They say, well, okay. Do we see that reflected later on? Is it consistent with the Make America Great, America First values? Well, remember that famous escalator ride in 2015? That famous video, that famous image. Took that escalator down, and in that very first speech, reiterated his sentiments from 1980, from 2004, from 2011. You may not agree with him, but he's not a traitor. Here it is.
I will stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons, and we won't be using a man like Secretary Kerry that has absolutely no concept of negotiation.
John Kerry is the biggest dipshit in politics, left or right. I don't care. Love him or hate him, Rubio is much better at the job. There's no question on this. John Kerry is the worst politician. You can tell the only reason he got in there is because didn't he like the heir to like ketchup or some stupid shit? The color purple, like I don't know.
He's making a horrible and laughable deal. Who's just being tapped along as they make weapons right now, and then goes into a bicycle race at 72 years old and falls and breaks his leg. I will be doing that, and I promise I will never be in a bicycle race. That I can tell you.
Now,
he's kept both those promises.
No nukes in Iran and no bicycle racing.
And bicycles are gay.
Yeah. He's kept both promises.
Yeah, see?
Like a gay flock of seagulls in their spandex, availing their asses.
Genuine question, and we'll take your chats. Wherever you line up, can you honestly sit there and say that Donald Trump is a traitor? Can you honestly say that his stance on Iran, and I know people will pull up some tweets where They'll say Donald Trump said that Barack Obama would attack Iran because he was saying that Barack Obama had no balls, and so ultimately he wasn't able to handle negotiations. He was trying to say that he knew how to do the art of it. We have statement after how far. We have very few people, by the way, on Earth, who we could point to and say has been that consistent on any issue. We're just fortunate that he was a public figure pre-social media, where we have his opinion on Iran in 1980. You want to impeach him, or you want to vote left or stay home during midterms because you think it's that big of a betrayal? That really is the question, regardless of your stance on Iran. You voted for Trump. He's the same guy from that 1980 clip, same guy from the 2015 clip. You willing to throw everything else away? Here's the next claim that I see people making. That, well, Iran and Russia both had nukes, but so why don't we go after Russia then? You see this a lot. Collage C3 there.
This is going after Russia, for one.
Applejack. And that brings us to a new segment, which we like to call Meme Check. And this is where we're going to actually address some very popular memes out there that get shared. Because we go, this is a great point. It's not. It's an untrue meme.
It's only a great point if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Your boomer grandmother or mother might like actually have her meme forwarding office as though it's a part-time job. Right. It doesn't mean that it's accurate. So the meme, and I've seen so many memes out there. Well, so if Iran has, what's that one? I'm attacking because they have nuclear weapons. Iran, why don't you attack Russia?
They don't have them.
This has been shared out there millions and millions of times. People go, yeah, it's a great point. Points out hypocrisy. Here's the truth. Iran never had nukes, dummy.
Yeah, this is in case they don't get them.
Have nukes, dummy. That's the whole fucking point.
Yes.
The point is that they were past the point of no return where they could become the next Russia or China.
And anyone who says anything like that, or anyone who posts that particular meme, you can automatically just label them, nope, retard. They don't know what they're talking about. They are literally just posting things that shit on the opposition.
China, you may not agree with it, but picture North Korea. We can't touch that crazy little Muppet bastard. Why? Because he has nukes, but they're a poor nation. So they're pretty much just isolated and off on their own. But think of the threats that you agree, China is a major threat as it relates to AI, as it relates to manufacturing. You think that the leverage of nukes helps? Do you think that, by the way, this is all part of the same problem? The Democrats' never-ending pledge to fund the war between Russia and Ukraine, which I am against, by the way. But do you think that Russia is less likely to come to the table and negotiate because they have nukes? The whole point here is Iran did not have nukes, but they were on their way. So we wanted to avoid specifically another China or a Russia with a much more, and I know this is crazy, I'm saying unstable nation, because it wasn't even run by a president, even if it's a dictator who's installed as a president or a prime minister, but basically second in command to God for this sect of Islam, the Ayatollah. You understand that, right?
True.
Iran was at 60% enriched uranium, okay, just to be clear. There has never been ever a non-nuclear state. There has never been another country that has passed the 20% threshold and not built a nuke. Do you believe that Iran would be the first? Answer. Answer. I really want an answer. Do you believe that they would be the first? Now, you can say, guarantee you Iran was going to build a nuke. We know that. All right. You can say unstable regime, death cult. I still don't think it's America first to do anything. You can say that, or it's not the right time. Fine. Fine. But don't try and trot out your silly little tired shitty tropes comparing it to Iraq, because we're not just, it's not some guy, or the IAEA, by the way, who said that Iraq did not have nukes, have said that they have nukes, because this has been an people go, oh, they've been saying that they're going to get a nuke for 5 years, for 10 years, for 30 years. Yeah, because we've watched the percentage go. It's like watching your battery percentage go down. You watch it go, oh, okay, they're already past 20%. This would be the first nation that's never built nukes. So when you see this meme out there, people go, that's a good point. Russia has nukes. And Iran, why do we treat one different? Must be the Jews. Everything about that meme is wrong. Do you honestly believe that Iran was not going to build nuclear weapons? And then, in combination with Marco Rubio communicated, we were about a year to a year and a half away, whether you believe it or not. This is the case he presented. We were about a year to a year and a half away from not being able to stop them at all. In other words, to get to the point where they could build the nukes completely unfettered, where we wouldn't be able to do anything with short-range missiles, with one-way attack drones, they were about a year to a year and a half away from that, where we would no longer be able to negotiate with them because we'd have no leverage. They could be on their way to a nuke.
And to be clear on that, we talked about this yesterday, but when they do operations orders and plan a mission, they take into account how many casualties they expect to lose. So it would be something we could do something about, but it would probably be over that threshold.
Very costly.
Right.
So I think that's what he means by that. Is like we have the capabilities, we could have still done it, but we would have lost so many more people, and it would have been such a bigger, event of chaos.
Well, and the point that I'm making here is, I will tell you, look, I support right now seeing what I support this action in Iran. I do. I think that it's been carried out pretty effectively. I know things could go sideways. I understand that. But I am arguing against the case for impeachment or staying home on election because you believe that this is such a deep betrayal. Do you believe that Donald Trump pulled a 180? I don't think you can make a case. Do you believe that Iran was no threat? You believe they weren't on their way to building nukes? I don't see how you can make the case. You'd have to take a leap in faith that they would be the first nation to ever get to that threshold and not. They're such a good faith actor that they are not going to build a nuke. So my case is, do you really believe that this judgment call militarily is worth throwing everything else out? And that brings us to the next meme, because I see people going, yeah, well, the thing is, he hasn't done anything he's promised. Closed border, 95% reduction, nothing. 3 million deportations, nothing. Voter ID, nothing. I get some of them are executive orders, but you're going to say that this is nothing because you're making the case that there should be no MAGA, there should be no America First, there should be no conservative movement in this country, that Iran warrants the evaporation of it, because that's what we're facing, to be clear. I'm saying that I think we can have disagreements on this, and we still don't want to hand this country over to the left. This goes to the next claim. That is very, very lazy. All references.
Many.
People will say, oh, this is meme too. So Trump can bomb the Ayatollah, but not solve, insert domestic problem here, not deal with homeless, not deal with ICE protesters in Miami. Do you have this? Yeah, this meme right here. The U.S. government funding relief checks, healthcare, and infrastructure. No, the U.S. government funding the military. Okay, all right. So a couple of points here. First off, a lot of those images are from blue cities. When I see people on the right using these talking points, I'm just hit truth, because I'm gonna go along with I had a whole bunch of things that I was going to say, but you know what? There's so many points. Those are blue cities. You think Donald Trump can control what happens in Philly or Portland? You think he can bomb Philly or Portland?
No, just targeted missiles at the homeless.
Right. And here's the other thing. You could give every single druggie and homeless person in those cities, you could give them $100,000 today. By the end of the week, you'd have the same exact problem. So this idea is very leftist, that if we just throw money at the problem, that'll fix it.
That, and most of these cities that they have these problems are rife with fraud, which is coming to light now. Minnesota, what city? Whichever stupid Minneapolis. There you go. Pretty much any major city in California. And there's more and more of these things happening all the time. And my favorite one that I've said myself was Gavin Newsom has time to run for president and do all this other stuff that has nothing to do with being governor. But all these examples you've listed in California of things that are going wrong. Homelessness. People getting their ass beat in the street. And people always say things like, oh man, look at these states. It's funny how only the states where Trump lost are getting attacked. That's not how this is happening. These raids are happening in a lot of cities, but they're happening more in those states for two reasons. One, most of these big cities in these blue states were sanctuary cities. So they have a lot more illegals there. And two, a bunch of white people are in the streets being obnoxious and being violent, or at the very least aggressive, with the people Trump has sent there, and that's why more shit's happening there, because it's not happening in the other states. Even in blue cities in some of these big states, because the governors of those states have been like, when all Kamala Harris, they were like, no, stop it. Don't do that.
And we can also get to the budgetary issues, too. We'll get to that. You do realize 140 to $450 billion a year illegal immigrants cost taxpayers. $500 billion a year in fraud. Right? Like, you guys understand, like, these things need to be dealt with. We are not even close to a drop in that bucket when we're talking about the military. Here's the other truth that's really important, okay? For the same reason that everyone in the DNC and people like Dave Smith and Tucker Carlson are wrong when they say this is an illegal war.
It's
They're
not.
wrong. The president, on issues of foreign policy, the president is as close to, but as close to basically a monarch as you get in this country. Yeah, he can bomb any insane dictator that he wants, to be clear. He can go out, he can do that, he has a window of time to let Congress, and even then, people will argue that's unconstitutional. You can see Donald Trump do it. You can see Barack Obama. Every single president has done something like this. He has.
And again, there's a clip. Hopefully, he shows it later. You don't have to inform every member of the Senate and Congress. There's a small council of people you have to inform them, to which Rubio has. That's beyond debate. He did. The fact that they dropped the ball, or. I mean, do you know how many members are in Congress, the House? Hundreds. That's a lot of, like, I'm sure you could send out a mass email, perhaps. But at the same time, as we've seen, they leak it to the press and the enemy. It's happened more than once. I'm pretty sure it was Tlaib. Was it Rashida Tlaib, I want to say?
The ability to go out on domestic matters.
It was one of the quote-unquote squad.
It's the opposite. The president is more of a figurehead, to be clear. It largely rests with the legislative. On the domestic issues, he has to deal with mayors in sanctuary cities and governors not cooperating with ICE. And governors also
Ding.
Illegal aliens. Then it has, how many times have you seen something go through the courts, local courts, all the way up to the Supreme Court? There are all kinds of mechanisms to create gridlock. What this proves is that when an administration is free to carry out an action unilaterally, it's far more effective. Iran enrichment facilities, Venezuela, even what we are seeing right now, if you disagree with it. Foreign policy, president has a lot of authority. Domestic issues, unless you completely want to do away with states' rights, because he'd have to go in and basically destroy blue cities, which I'm not completely against, then you understand why this meme is silly and it's stupid. It's like, well, this thing isn't perfect, so then we don't give credit for this thing. So it does matter. It does matter to be accurate. Also, one final, when we're talking about this, the first day of operations in Iran cost about $779 million, right? This was written up everywhere. We're going to 700. Sounds like a lot. That's 0.09% of our total defense budget.
Wow.
To be clear. So what that tells me is, hey, maybe our defense budget needs to be looked at, because we could be doing stuff like this. What's happening on a day-to-day basis? In other words, we could spend a smaller percentage on a day-to-day basis at war in our defense budget than while we remain effectively idle. So to act like that somehow has anything to do with mayors and governors in Minneapolis, Minnesota, blocking presidential authority is to play into the hands of the left, along with saying that Donald Trump betrayed his base, along with saying that, well, only Israel would have an interest in Iran not having nukes or not being a global power. It's disingenuous at best, it's uninformed, and it prevents us from having the legitimate conversation as to what kind of military intervention, if any, is appropriate. But we shouldn't have this conversation based on lies and stupid memes that your grandma forwarded because she watched Tucker's newest episode and likes that he has spunk. This has been fucking meme check. We just want to running a stinger. One
No,
more.
it's fair. Yeah, you have to do it. By the way, really quickly, so as we were talking about this, the rapid response account that we had a problem with for clipping the worst context portion of that speech actually put out another post with the actual best portion of it. We don't have to play the clip, but basically in the text they say, basically, did you go, they asked the question, did you go for Israel? And say Marco Rubio saying no, and then the rest of the answer. And it's like, that's the first thing you put out.
Right.
Don't have to come back and fix this mistake. Right. But at least they did.
Yeah, and I will say that Marco Rubio did put out a huge statement. He went and had a conversation with some of the press. And again, whoever's doing these things, putting out posts or clips for the White House, the Defense Department, whatever, needs to be fired. Because someone being bad at their job or forgetting how the internet works is how you get the little snippet of the Obama and the Obamas being apes at the end of a completely different video. And again, most of the shorts, like YouTube shorts, Instagram, whatever, if you don't stop it, if you don't pause it, you will jump straight into the next video without even having to swipe at the end of it, or or on X, it'll immediately start the next clip. And who's to say what it is afterwards? I get all kinds of stuff from people I don't even watch or listen to or haven't watched in years. I've been on X for a long time. I haven't really done anything with it. I've just had an account for a long time. So I still get things popping up all the time on my personal account. But and then on that they clipped the worst thing that made it sound like we're doing it for Israel, when if you watch that whole interview or whatever, hey, thanks for the follow, you'll clearly see that no. And Rubio goes in depth on how this is not for Israel. We're not going to watch that today. That'll probably be tomorrow or even this weekend.
They get, it was a layup, and they allowed it to take place.
Yeah.
And that brings us to people will be out there and they'll point out Israeli propaganda. I get it. Obviously that happens. And by the way, all nations do it, just to be clear. You don't think that two mommies and transitioning and sex change surgery in the United States military, you don't think that was propaganda from the Biden administration? And
it completely was.
Propaganda to varying degrees when this administration retitles it the Department of War and says we are going to be the strongest, fittest military. It's propaganda. It's about getting your country to believe in the agenda and the direction of your administration. So,
and people complained about that. People complained about the cost of letters. I mean, it's only 3 letters. I mean, sure, none of them are the same letters as the word that was there before, defense, but, people complained about it. I thought it was silly, but, I mean, everybody likes to stir shit up.
all nations do it. And I don't think we should be following Israel's lead as far as their propaganda on anything. I don't think we should be sending them a bunch of money. I don't think there should be a blank check. I don't think we should be led into war if it's only in their interest. Period. I think we should be leading the dance in all facets, including trade, including AI, including militarily. And by the way, I think we need to rethink our European alliances. Spain now saying we're not going to let you use the bases that you have here. Hope you siesta with one eye open, you stupid faggots.
Crude.
Oh, think about that.
But no, for a country to say that we can't use the bases that we have in their country, because technically that land is on sovereign American land. Technically. Because, America's purchased it and all that. I could see it. Now, if we were being hostile towards that nation, 100%, expel us, sure. Too many drunken sailors in your country, Spain, because road to Spain is a beautiful countryside. It's right there at the Rock of Gibraltar. It's beautiful.
Spain. I can't believe that the United States would do. What? You can't believe that we might not need your permission, considering you haven't paid your contractually obligated bill for decades? It's such a moral wrong for us to deal with the regime in Iran that you are going to prevent us from using bases that, by the way, have also helped maintain the existence of your indefensible country.
A country that did not help at all.
Right.
In a bunch of different conflicts last century.
Yeah.
Lucky to be in NATO in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of nations have vested interest. Israel will Spain wants to put up propaganda that, my God, they're a real country anymore. Kind of like Canada. But my primary concern is with a lot of propaganda coming from Iran right now. And the reason why that's a primary concern is because I see people who claim to be America first parroting propaganda from Iran with no semblance of fact-checking or due diligence. Here's just some of it.
Is that an F4?
I like how they made Iranians look American.
Yeah, it's like Mexican soap operas.
Look at how much water we have.
All the water. Look, our trucks are camouflaged.
Whoa, you will never see us coming.
It's a raspberry bush. It's a tanker.
Small people makes it look bigger.
Yeah, and here's some other examples,
It's
by the
green
way.
camouflage in Iran.
And there's misinformation out there, so it's hard to know what's true.
You think that's funny? At least when I was in the military, Australian camouflage is polka dotted because it's, from what they told me, it's supposed to keep them camouflaged in Australia. I was like, why do y'all wear that in other countries though? Like, I understand like some of our uniforms that we've had are stupid, like the ACUs, the digital stupid camo with, I understand those are ridiculous, but I mean, polka dots, man, come on.
My issue is with people who should know better.
No offense, shapeshifter, but polka dots.
I know what's true and simply want to be first or want to score pot shots against consistently the United States. So here's one out there. The United States and Israel hit a school and they killed a bunch of kids. Bunch of innocent children. The United States, clearly, without the whole picture, without all the information. This was immediately parroted by Gavin Newsom and Jeffrey Sachs and the like.
We have to reconcile why our bombs were used or Israeli bombs were used to kill children, young girls at a school, and what the imminent threat was.
They're killing schoolgirls. No one even pauses. 150 schoolgirls bombed by Israel. No one even mentions.
All right, two things. One, these things happen. If it was Israel or us, these things do happen. To suggest that we actively hit a school on purpose, it's disingenuous again. But two, again, I've seen video. I'm waiting on official word to come out. From everything that I've seen, it was a mechanical failure on an Iranian bomb. Again, there's a video of, you can see the horseshoe smoke. It's shooting straight up and then coming back down in the same city. Again, very sad, horrible, the loss of life. Small children, I don't care what country they're part of, especially since most of Iran does not support what their government does. Because they're a brutal dictatorship and have been for longer than I've been alive.
These things. It's absolutely shocking, disgraceful, dangerous, bankrupting our country, and Trump lied.
And
did he?
Jackson Hinckley, Dick Smith, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay. Here's the thing. I will tell you, I can't fact check it because at this point in time, it's still unclear as to whether the United States did that. My issue is with people immediately assuming that the United States did that and implying that there was some nefarious motive, immediately and consistently painting the United States as the bad guys who target innocent children. Someone does that, I go, oh, well, it doesn't sound like you're America first. Keep in mind that many of the same people saying, well, here you go, here's your America first, the United States military killing children, were the same people who were offended at the idea that the Israeli military go to lengths to protect civilians. I'm not saying the Jews are perfect. What I'm saying is there's an inconsistency in your level of offense when you're effectively calling American troops baby killers. Play the
As
clip.
an American, permit me a moment of outrage. Because I said many civilians have been killed.
Yeah.
And you said, right in the middle of your elaborate defense of the IDF's killing of civilians, including children, you said they do a better job than the United States does. That's my country and my government.
It's
which
my
I
country.
consider.
What flag am I wearing here?
Well, I'm asking, why is
What
it
flag
so-
am I wearing?
Well, that's, of course, my flag as well.
And it's
the
my
US
flag. It's who I serve.
So why the dig at the United States in the
It's
middle?
not a dig
It
at
was.
them. No. You totally misrepresented
What did
that.
you mean by that?
I did not take a dig at the U.S. What I'm saying
You
is
said the IDF is more humane than the U.S.
And by the way,
That's not what he said. Look, Tucker Carlson is one of the worst, and I've always thought this. I've just been paying attention to it more since he went independent. He's one of the most disingenuous human beings ever. I've been using that word a lot. I have a word of the day calendar. Fuck off. But no, like he's in that meeting. I think that was Huckabee. It's hard to recognize him now that he's old. But he's saying that Israel's technology is more advanced and more strategic than America's. That's a fact. It's not saying they're more humane or this or that or the other, but they are more precise with their actions. This is true because they're such a small country that they have to be, and they're so scrutinized and focused on that they have to be that much sharper. Mistakes do still happen? Yes, of course. God, just like Tucker Carlson said, if they were talking about someone was being attacked by, and it turned out the kid who was attacking him, it was a militant, but it was still a kid, was 15 years old. Tucker Carlson said, "I don't think we should kill children." And the guy's like, "So you're just going to let them kill you?" He's like, I wouldn't kill children. I'm just like, then you'd be a dead dipshit. Tucker Carlson's, and anyone who if you listen to Tucker Carlson and take him seriously, and you're not just there to hear what ridiculous bullshit will come out of his mouth next, especially that laugh. I don't know what to tell you. You shouldn't be watching this show. You should be somewhere coloring.
I probably agree with Tucker Carlson on more things in that interview.
That being said, I actually really like coloring. I'm getting really good at it. Anyway.
And Governor Mike Huckabee, to be clear. But if you're going to be offended at that and say, I can't believe that you would imply the United States isn't as humane as Israel, do you have the same level of offense for people who immediately go, United States, baby killers? Because you know who doesn't think that we're baby killers? The Iranian people all across the globe. All across the globe. Not saying that we should go to war for the Iranian people. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is the Iranian people probably would have the strongest motivation to say, hey, the United States, you're the bad guys. You're killing innocent children. Instead, they're dancing in the streets. So I ask you, why are commentators and influencers who accuse anyone of disagreeing with them, the people who call for the impeachment of Donald Trump, the people who say stay home during the midterms, why are they always immediately saying United States military are baby killers and they're doing it on purpose? So I can't tell you if we did do this. I would be willing to bet if it did happen.
And I'll tell you this. The reason for this, and this is why Hassan Piker has gone kind of digging at his own side, is because the opposition for who's in power gets more ratings. And that's it. That's the only reason people are doing this. The only reason Marjorie Taylor Greene's doing this. She doesn't care. She doesn't care about anything that she says. You can tell the ones that care versus the ones that don't. And it's mostly that whether or not they know what they're talking about. I can't take Marjorie Taylor Greene seriously because she thinks that Jews have space lasers and control the weather and control Hollywood. Okay, that one's true, but
That it obviously wasn't targeted. And I would direct you to, again, what was a fantastic press conference from Marco Rubio. This is how one should approach the fog of war.
Can you tell us what you know the secretary of the administration knows about the strike on a building in southern Iran? The Iranians saying it's a school, reports of large buildings, including children killed.
Yeah, I've seen those reports. I don't have, I would refer you, not because I'm not trying to answer your question, but I don't want to get it wrong. The Department of War would be investigating that if that was our strike. And I would refer your question to them, and I'll make sure they're aware that you have that question. But we'd like to know. Well, clearly, the United States would not deliberately target a school. Our objectives are missiles.
Clearly.
Both the ability to manufacture them, the ability to launch them, and the one-way attack drones. That would be our focus, and that's what we would be focused on. We would have no interest and, frankly, no incentive to target civilian infrastructure. The Iranians are, on the other hand, targeting civilian infrastructure. You guys have seen it. I'm sure you've seen it. They're hitting hotels. They're hitting embassies. They're hitting airports. They're hitting oil infrastructure. Well, it'd be very tragic, but I can't speak to the details behind it because I just don't have it.
I think that's a good way to handle it.
There you go.
By the way, I could present to you the other, which would also be propaganda, because some people are parroting this and they haven't done their due diligence either.
And I will say, look, again, love him or hate him, I got a lot of respect for Rubio because, one, all the nasty things that Trump said during the Republican primaries in 2016, and the man still works for him. And two, you can always tell if he disagrees, but most people in that situation would immediately go to running defense for who they work for. Whereas Rubio, at least as far from what I've seen, will stick to the facts on the ground as they are. You got to respect that. He could have gone there. He could have defended. He could have been like, oh, that wasn't this, or they're lying, or this is this and this. He says he don't know because he probably doesn't. I believe him, and it'll probably come out. And, you know, he wasn't disrespectful. He didn't, you know, and that's one thing I like about him. He stays as respectful as possible, unless he's disrespected, and he'll come back pretty smooth. I'm not going to lie. But, yeah, the most improved in the Republican category definitely goes, or in general, goes to Marco Rubio.
There's an unverified telegram stating that Iran knew they struck their own school by accident, used it, or on purpose, used it for propaganda. That cannot be confirmed. So I can tell you that neither one is confirmed. I can also provide some context. The Iran Revolutionary Guard facility is located right next to a school. I can also provide you some context. The same people who immediately jump and accuse this administration and accuse American troops of being baby killers are the same people who blamed, for example, the IDF for that Al-Ali hospital. Remember that explosion?
Yeah.
It was caused by Islamic jihadists, and they didn't retract it. Let me be really simple with this. If there is collateral damage, and there always will be in war, on the opposing side of the United States, with incomplete information, as an America First person, I tend to believe that the United States is more likely to be the good guys than Iran. That's my default position. Why is yours the opposite? That's my question. Why is yours that the United States military are the bad guys who are targeting children? And how can you logically justify your position in comparison, not in a vacuum, to Iran and the Ayatollah? Satan rape his soul. Here's another one.
Jesus. Okay. That's a bit over the top, but okay.
Why would people so quickly want to parrot a loss? The United States. Spoiler alert, not true. Iran struck the USS Abraham Lincoln. You know who got in on this action? You're in good company. Chinese state media with their propaganda.
Oh.
时间3月1号下午，伊朗伊斯兰革命卫队发布第7号公告说，
Oh, they got incredible footage of this.
号航母遭到伊朗4枚弹道导弹袭击，伊朗武装部队对敌方军事力量的强力打击。
Notice how every single time it's hitting, it's supposed to be a different angle. It's hitting in a different place, and things aren't moving how they would naturally. And they have so many angles. Mostly because I'm pretty sure it's from a video game or something. I'm sure he'll say it, or AI generated, but.
Whoa.
Oh, he split it in half.
I guess they had a documentary filmmaker there, and it was parroted by Al Jazeera, Russia Today, a bunch of other places, and of course the Black Bill, the dissident right. Here's the truth: the Lincoln was not hit. The missiles launched didn't even come close. That's what we know right now. The Lincoln continues to. This comes to us, by the way, from CENTCOM. The Lincoln continues to launch aircraft in support of CENTCOM's relentless campaign to defend the American people by eliminating threats from the Iranian regime. So it wasn't true. The issue is that was parroted by. Now, why would people, the same people who jump to accuse the United States military of being baby killers, and Donald Trump of betraying their base, same people, by the way, saying that this is an illegal war, also be really, really quick to jump the gun and say, look, the Lincoln was hit. Iran is effective. You starting to put it together? Hey, do you like what you saw?
Also, Iran's, if that were true and Iran being that effective, all the more reason to continue with this. But look, I'm always one to question the government. I don't care who's in power, Democrats, Republicans. At some point, we're being lied to. You can say that one side or even one president is more honest or at least less deceptive than others. Probably more accurate a statement. But if your default is automatically we're wrong. And again, I'm not saying don't question anything or anything like that. But in a situation where we're against people who are proven beyond the shadow of a doubt to be hostile or doing horrible, atrocious, evil things to their own people. Thousands, tens of thousands of people gone in just a few days of protest. And they blacked out the internet. The only reason that a lot of the videos got out was because of Starlink. It speaks a lot to you. And you're not questioning authority. You just want us to fail because you feel bad that we're successful as a country, at least. I don't know what it is. I mean, I used to be like this myself, but again, for you to cheer the deaths of your countrymen and for basically to cheer the death of anyone who isn't a horribly evil person who is murdering, raping, pillaging, any of these things. For you to cheer the death of anyone besides that speaks a lot of you. I don't care what side you're on. If Biden or Trump were murdered, it would be upsetting, especially while they're in power. It's the president of your country. Now, if he was actually the vicious, brutal dictator that people make him out to be, then yeah, sure. But he's not. If he ran the country the same way the Ayatollah does, 100%. I would be in one of those scenes in the sewer, strategizing and making a plan by fucking candlelight. But it's too much. I don't get it. Maybe I'm old. I don't know. But anyway, real quick, Jasmine Crockett's retarded. She lost, by the way.
That's my news. Is that we're not going to have election results tonight, in my opinion, based upon what specifically is taking place in Dallas County. Unfortunately, this is what Republicans like to do. And so they specifically targeted Dallas County, and I think we all know why. So, I want you to enjoy yourselves, but I won't be back tonight because I have no idea of when we're going to get results, and I fully anticipate it won't be until tomorrow. So, I love y'all too. Thank you so very much for being here. Love you down. I love you down, Dallas.
Oh my God. Okay. Honest opinion, I've heard more Republicans say they wanted Crockett to win because Tallarico is a threat to all kinds of things because he claims to be religious, so on and so forth. I've heard more Republicans speak to that than thinking Jasmine Crockett's a threat or any kind of racist statements. But then again, I don't associate with people who are openly racist, so who knows? I'm not in any of those forums or anything because people are awful. But yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense for Republicans to cheat and sway it in Tallarico's favor because he is the bigger threat to their party, especially in Texas. His goal in Texas is to turn Texas blue. Why would Republicans want him over you? You pose no threat. You're some code-switching dipshit who's from the suburbs, who's very wealthy, well, not wealthy, but well-off family. You've never had to want for anything in your life, and you code switch and act like you're from the hood. like a lot of politicians do. But anyway, that's where we're going to stop it today. I got to shoot out the door. But thank you all for stopping by. We'll get into it more. Just look, analyze any information that you get from anything. Question everything. Absolutely. Just make sure you're informed, at least if you're in a position to where you get overly emotional from this. Don't be so needing to throw something in the face of a friend or someone who used to be a friend or someone you've always hated, just because they're on the other side. Because not only are you going to make yourself look stupid, you're going to, especially if you're someone who's very gung-ho for your side, you're going to make the whole party look stupid. And while I find that hilarious, you're doing yourself a disservice. So just read a little, go beyond the headline, okay? Do a little investigating yourself. Don't just rely on what CNN or Fox News or MS Now or whatever the hell they're calling themselves say. I don't even go based just off of what Crowder says. I check all of his references. They're all available down here. Where'd they go? Today's sources. They're in there all the time. I mean, there's all the things. It's all here. Okay? So just be informed. Know what you're talking about, especially if you're taking a vested interest in it or if you're pitching a fucking bitch fit because you're losing. Anyway, and that goes for the left or the right. Have some respect for yourself and the people affected by the shit you talk about. Anyway, have a good day. This is Alfie Animus with the Associated